Buff Nation?
Let's go.
Welcome into DNVR Buffs Prime Time. We're presented by Illegal Pete's, everyone's go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beers. One day post-Nuggets NBA Finals championship win. How are you feeling?
So free. So light. Yeah. I just feel like I'm, I don't know, walking on a cloud.
Right.
I don't know if you saw today, I tweeted out that I'm fully ready to forgive Carmelo Anthony. So that's like off my chest, off my back.
Mm-hmm.
I actually felt it before they won. It's like in the week leading up, I was just like, I'm not mad at Carmelo anymore. Mm-hmm. And then he tweeted like out of congrats. It was like the smallest little olive branch one can extend, but that was like the final. It's gone.
Do you think he comes back and like?
I hope so. That was kind of the point of my tweet is like, hey, let's bring him back. We don't need to like get crazy and start retiring numbers. Like,
right. That's
a whole other conversation. I think once the bridge is mended. But anyways, we don't have to get into a whole Carmelo conversation. I just know I remember I said one time, kind of just like about our feelings towards Carmelo on here, and a lot of people were like, "What? Why would you feel that way?" So I'm past it.
Acceptance and forgiveness.
Yes, my soul is lighter because of it.
Love to hear it. We're going to talk about this Coach and Klatt interview. We have words from Brandon Davis-Swain on why Colorado, and then Javon Antonio did it again at practice. We'll get to all that, but we start with Coach and Klatt. You watched it.
Yep.
I watched it for the second time today, just as good as the first time. But what'd you think?
Man, it was really good. My biggest takeaway, and I have a lot, but the biggest one for me is Coach believes in the team.
Oh, yeah.
And he's always believed in himself, so he always knew he was going to get the team where he needed to get it, and because of that, he was always confident. Mm-hmm. But now I hear a different inflection in his voice when it comes to talking about the actual players on the team, not just, himself or Shedeur or Travis or anything like that. Like, he believes that these guys are the truth and that he has a team that can compete with anyone. And that fires me up because I don't think he would say it if he didn't believe it.
Oh, for sure.
Like he's always going to exude confidence, but he pushed it further than he needed to. And Jake, he willingly brought up the playoff.
Yeah.
When asked about, do you have a team that can compete? Joel said, do you think you have a team that can compete? And Coach Prime said, I don't think. I know I have a team that can compete. And he immediately started talking about the playoffs. And this is not to say you have to change your expectations to that, but that's where his mind is. And he starts looking and he says, what did every playoff team have? And I knew the answer before Joel. A quarterback.
Yep.
They had a quarterback. And that popped off to me. And then the next thing, and this was very interesting, he said, all right, what's the second thing that they had, Joel? And he didn't want Joel to be like, he said, just say whatever comes to your mind. He said all the teams were great along the line of scrimmage. He said, exactly. That means he also believes in the trenches of this team.
Oh, yeah.
And so that really fired me up. That got me going. And I believe in his belief.
We'll get back to it. I broke down the whole thing here, so we'll kind of go down the whole list. Starting off, just talking about why he chose Colorado, and I think this is an example of his selflessness.
Before you do that, I want to know what was your number one takeaway?
Kind of the same thing, just his confidence in this team. There's a different tone, as we've been talking about the last few weeks, in how he talks about this team. I thought his insights on the college football landscape were pretty enlightening and very interesting to hear. His confidence is contagious, and this was prime in every sense of the word.
Yeah. All right, now we can go chronologically now.
All right, so from the start, was asked about why Colorado, and this is Coach Prime's selflessness on display already. I need to be needed. And you can look at that as confidence and cockiness, whatever word you want. But it's how he talked about, from his playing career, from going to Atlanta to Dallas to San Francisco. Like, he was just trying to win. That's really all he cares about. That's all he wants to do here at Colorado. And obviously they needed someone like him. He delivered, and now he's like the fruits of that labor are coming to fruition, really.
Yeah, and it's such an interesting thing because I don't think you've heard that a lot from people to talk about the need to be needed. Honestly, when I think of that, I think of like my mom,
right?
And like how she felt when me and my sister both left the house, you know, and just being like, man, like as weird as this is, like I miss doing your laundry or just like, you know,
right,
like
yeah.
you know that nurturing like mother. Or just parent-like quality of just like wanting to take care of people around you. And for Coach Prime, it's on such a larger scale because it's like he wants to take care of the university, the players, and, you know, obviously most importantly to me, the fans. He might not have been needed anywhere in the country as much as he was needed here. And I think he recognized that and also like valued and cherished the challenge and also the potential glory that comes with saving Colorado football.
Yes.
And I don't think it was lost on him that there is a very real fan base here, you know, that filled the stadium for a 0-win team against Cal. And so with all of that together, it was like no one needed him more. And no one would be as appreciative of the job if he gets it done, when he gets it done, of bringing back Colorado football.
Absolutely. Joel Klatt continued asking about that. We'll get to the roster turnover in just a second, but he said, you know, Coach Prime said people knew what this team was because Klatt was trying to be like, you know, Colorado was obviously like explaining the whole thing. And Coach Prime was like, no, people knew this. Like, this wasn't some, like, hidden thing. People knew how bad Colorado was. And he said people knew what they were. They just wanted to take a shot at me. Better shoot now.
Yep. And that's what I've been saying.
Yep.
Get those digs in while you can because it's not going to last long.
Yep, for sure.
Whose side are you on here when it comes to the take from Coach Prime and Joel Klatt? Joel Klatt says he doesn't think the world knows how bad Colorado was. Coach Prime says, I think they do know how bad they were. They just want to come at me.
I think they do know. I mean, just last year, there was the amount of memes and just, oh, LOL, Colorado's so bad. Like, people knew this. This wasn't a secret that, like, oh, wait, Colorado only won one game last year? Like, people were onto this. They knew how bad it was. I mean, they were the first FBS team to fire a head coach last year, I think, if not one of the first. Like, this was out in the open for everyone to consume.
I think I'm on Joel's side.
Really?
Yep. I don't think people actually know how bad it was. I think they, like he was saying, kind of understand based on the record and those sorts of things. But, you know, the stat that he brought up, average margin of victory, or average margin of loss, 29 points. Jake.
I know.
The fact that they won one game might actually be a miracle.
It really was, honestly, in many facets.
It might actually be a miracle because every other game they weren't even close to winning. Arizona State, you know, they kind of got in the game. That would have needed a miracle.
The score was deceiving in that one.
Right. You know, you have a punt return with like 3 minutes left or something to make it a one-score game. But they weren't just losing. They were getting embarrassed, not just in a game in, game out, but play in, play out. And so I don't know. No one was watching that. No one was tuning in to see that.
That's a good point.
They might have tuned in for the first quarter of the USC game. Maybe they made it for the first half because it was kind of close after the first quarter. But I just don't think people grasped the utter lack of talent. And that's why they were like, whoa, I don't know, man. 70 players? Is that is that overkill? It's like, no, it's not. There's a couple good players on the whole squad.
That's a good point. A lot of people actually split in the chat. Some people saying they knew how bad they were, and other people going, I didn't know. So
yeah. And he also, Coach Prime is also right. They just want, you know, people don't like him for whatever reason because they have this idea about him that's completely wrong. But for that reason, he's right that they're just going to say anything he does is wrong, especially when they still have the opportunity to before they're going to have to eat their words and say it's right.
That's true. The roster turnover. This has been a huge topic. We pulled a clip from it.
You know, it's fascinating from my seat because I evaluate teams. Yeah. I know what Colorado was. You know what I mean? I don't think. Here's the thing. I don't think a lot of people do.
Yes, they do.
They see the record, right?
No,
like they see
do.
1-11, but there's other teams that had one win. They don't know what this was, man.
They do. They just want to take a shot at me, and I'm good with that. They do. They know what it was. But this is their opportunity to take a shot. But they better shoot now.
Sure.
Because in a moment, you're not going to be able to shoot.
So they spoke about the roster turnover right after that. I love what Klatt asked. Fast forward to next year's roster, and what does it look like? And Coach Prime actually took that opportunity to kind of say, we admitted our misses in the portal.
Another thing that people aren't ready to talk about.
Right.
Because they just think, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people out there think like, oh, Coach Prime just came in and said all these players suck, and he didn't even look at them, and he said, get them out of here. Which there's no better retort to that than the fact that he brought in guys that he thought were those guys and then realized, okay, actually you aren't. And he is not afraid, he's really not afraid of anything. He's so honest. But he's not afraid to say we pushed them out.
Right.
I don't think any other coach in the country would say that. They would go politically correct, dance around the bush a little bit and say, hey, some guys just weren't a fit here, and so, we both had to do what was right for each other. No, he just said, we brought some guys in, we realized they weren't it, we pushed them out. Mm-hmm. And that alone should tell you that it's really just about ball.
Yeah.
Not about ego, not about anything else. It's about, are you smart, tough, fast, disciplined, and with character. Did I miss one?
Did you say discipline?
Smart, tough, fast, disciplined, with character. 5. Yeah. That's all it's about. It's truly all it's about. And so you had to get guys out who weren't that, bring guys in who were that. He did that as much as he could in the fall, or whatever you want to call that transfer window, and then realized there were some wrong ones, started over, try to get it right the second time.
I felt like this is the part in the show where Coach's confidence just kind of took over, and you could kind of feel it coming off the screen. He mentioned there's competition at practice now. And I think this is something that we tried to get out of them during spring practices. They were kind of taking the politically correct way, not really going in on the players who were on the roster that they knew weren't going to be there. But that was something I think that kind of bothered all the coaches, was the lack of competition throughout spring practices and how all the new guys were really just kind of bowling over all the old guys, and no one gets better through that. He mentioned the wide receiving core after that. This receiving core is ridiculous, is what he said.
Love it. I love it. Again, that's real confidence. When he says things in certain ways, that's when I know he's really real about it. If he said, I really like our receiving core, that's okay, yeah, they're solid.
Yep.
When he says this receiving core is ridiculous, remember, not that he would do this anyway, but that also removes any excuse for Shedeur.
Yeah.
They didn't have the guys
right
in the receiver room. When he says that, that's pure, real confidence. And those guys are actually dogs. And that might have been my second biggest takeaway, because he talked about the receivers again later.
He did.
And hyped them up again later. I'm okay, the receivers are actually real.
Yep.
He got into Jimmy Horn's story and stuff like that.
Right.
But I forget what the original question that you had was, but it was cool to see that confidence in that room specifically. Oh, the competition.
Yes,
dude, we saw it.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, and some of the world saw it too. When a video of Travis Hunter catching a 75-yard touchdown pass comes out, and you're like, why is there a 5'9" white kid covering him?
Right.
There were some ugly clips out there that highlighted how little depth and competition they had out there. Now you look at this, and it truly looks like a different team is out there.
Oh, yeah.
We've been hyping up Javon Antonio in these sick clips that are coming out. You've also got Omarion Cooper. Gosh, that's hard. Both ER at the end. You've also got Omarion Cooper competing in those plays, and he looks huge he looks like he can compete size-wise with Javon Antonio. So the competition was on display in the spring where it was just like, okay, well, it's very clear there's like some really good players out here.
Right.
But there's not enough really good players like matching up against them. It's like you kind of wish you could have had Travis Hunter covering Travis Hunter when he was out there.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, man. We saw it firsthand. It was, we had many questions, but I feel like we're going to be feeling much better about the product we see on the field now. He continued on. I love what he said about this. Talked about assembling the roster, and he said they know nothing about the coaching staff. It's harder assembling the coaching staff than getting the kids, and that's what people should be singing praises about. And we've tried to.
Yep. I mean, this coaching staff is special.
Yeah.
I don't know every coaching staff in the country, so I can't truly compare them like the way that I know this, but it's got to be way up there in terms of the acumen of this coaching staff.
Very experienced all over the country, former head coaches all over. Yeah.
Yep.
It's deep. This was great. They talked about the myth about recruiting Colorado.
I'm so glad you went here because this was fresh on my mind.
Coach Prime said 95% chance. It's a wrap. And we saw that last weekend was the Carl Lewis.
100%. And there's another wrinkle to this that I'll get into in a second. But it is true that this myth that had existed for years, which was really just like an excuse created by failing coaches, that it's difficult to recruit to Colorado, is getting smashed into nothing, into smithereens. Why was it ever hard?
I don't know.
There are a couple things that make it a little more difficult aside from the one that I'm going to get to in a second. But, it's a very different culture. It's very different weather-wise. A few things, but like once you get on campus, you feel how beautiful and how magical that space is. And so to me, it was always like, what am I missing here? Why is it hard to recruit to Colorado? What are you missing? What are you having such a hard time selling about this beautiful stadium, these beautiful facilities, beautiful everything, if you know what I mean? So it's all just comes down to one thing that the other coaches could still pull out. And that is the academic standards, which were way too high, which I ranted about before Coach Prime got here. And I said, let's stop pretending we're Stanford or Vanderbilt or any of these other schools. We're not that. And that was a difficult hurdle, And so I don't want to completely just say like all these other coaches were losers, because they did have one thing that was a lot more difficult. The transfer standards, the academic, lack of exceptions that they were willing to make. And when Coach Prime got here, I said, I hope that he tells them, I'm not signing a contract until you guys move this stuff around. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what happened in one way or another, whether it was that forceful or they just said, like, hey, if we're serious, let's go get Coach Prime. Let's make it easy for him to recruit. So now you take away the most difficult barrier, and all the other excuses look silly now. That's the only thing that you could really claim, because the weather and this, that, or the other thing aren't really having an impact on Coach Prime. And if one guy says it's too cold here, there's a guy right behind him who's just as good who says, you know what, I would love to play here.
Right. He mentioned the weather, though. I love what he talked about just in terms of recruiting. He said the kids are surprised, just like Coach was, when they get to Boulder and they realize just how beautiful it is. But then also, he had this line, you've got to experience the other half of the country to experience life. And I think there's some truth to that. Maybe not exactly the other side. You can even go as far as the other side of the world to experience life.
Yep.
But, it's true. And it's kind of the college experience, kind of leaving home, becoming a man, and just learning how the world works. And that's what he's setting these kids up for.
Totally. And I fully admit and accept the fact that I missed that a little bit with my college experience, which was like, well, to be honest, I was like, I got to get out of Boulder. So I went to Denver for my freshman year. And then I was like, that was dumb. I got to get back to Boulder. I was spending my weekends there anyway. But he's actually right about needing to go experience other parts to really start understanding. Like when I started covering the Broncos is when I started traveling all around the country, going to all these different NFL cities. And you just start to realize like there's so much awesome shit out there, whether it's food or cultures or people, like I have all these specific memories of like the first time I went to Iowa.
Right.
And I'm just like, these people are so nice. What is going on here? Like they're literally thanking me for coming there.
Right. Yeah.
Like, or like the first time I went to New Orleans and I'm like, oh my God, this is so special. There's like such a special vibe and culture and like brotherhood between the people that live here. And so it is true. And for us, for me specifically, it's the opposite, right? Like I've lived in Boulder forever and I'm going to experience these other places and saying, wow, this is amazing. And like for them, they get to do that the other way around. And you can see pictures or any of that stuff, but we heard it from Zacarl Lewis's coach being like, we got on campus and we were just like, is this real?
Yeah.
Like what? We had no idea that a landscape could look like this. So it's really cool. And I think you're right about other countries too. Like going around and seeing other things is like such a fulfilling, to me, one of the most fulfilling things you can do is go see another culture and another space, another area, and see how they live.
It's the fastest way to grow as a person.
Could not agree more.
But yeah, man, he's just all about the kids and getting them prepared for life. And he talked about that, not directly, but throughout this entire interview. That's what it was about. Shout out to Shador's #2 barbecue sauce. I hope you guys, all the guys in the comments that got their bottles recently, enjoyed it. Let us know if you did.
I know they did.
I know they did as well.
No one can hate on a good barbecue sauce.
It goes great on absolutely everything. Pork, chicken, anything on the grill, anything that just needs barbecue sauce. Go to plbse.com. Use the code ALLCITY, all caps, all one word, at checkout for 10% off your order of Shador's #2. Then shout out to Saturday Neon. Do you have your remote handy?
Let's go.
The Spirit of the Buffs? Is it alive and well?
Spirit of the Buffs is alive.
There it is.
Let's go.
Saturday Neon is a company started by two friends and former college roommates at CU. They make officially licensed collegiate logo LED signs. They're based out of Denver.
I just switched the camera off of the Spirit of the Buffaloes.
There it is.
Back.
They make great gifts, guys. We got Father's Day coming up. Also, they're just great for your man cave. They're great on our set here. They're shipped with everything you need to mount, power, and dim. They got officially licensed signs for 19 select schools, including Colorado, Arizona, Bama, many others. Go to SaturdayNeon.com. Use the code DNVR. You'll get 10% off your order today. And you have free shipping for orders over $200.
Spirit of the Buffs is pulsating.
Love it. It's strong today. Wow.
Yeah, it is. It is.
All right. I love this next part. We have a clip from this too. They talked about what culture is. And, it's a conversation that can go many different ways. But when you get two guys who know the game and know teams and what it means to be a good teammate like that, it's fascinating to hear those conversations. So let's play the clip, Yaya.
When I think about culture, I think of the way of life. Like, I only know how to do things one way. And that's with every darn thing I got, with everything I got in it. And to give unconditionally, to love without fault, and to want what's ever the best. That's it for me. And we make no excuses. We make no excuses. A bunch of like-minded men who want to get their education, who want to play pro football, and want to win. To me, that's a culture.
Yeah.
That's what we're building. That's the direction that we're going.
Real quick, Klatt gave his side, kind of explained his background, where he grew up. He grew up in a military home. He said the culture is the standard. Mm-hmm. So what is culture to you?
To me, I thought a lot about this. Culture is what happens when everyone points their sails in the same direction. And it doesn't necessarily matter because all teams are trying to win, right? And they're all have their principles, and where it might be smart, tough, fast, discipline with character and Boulder, it's something a little bit different in Ames. But in the end, it's all a part of something similar, right? You can talk about culture all you want, and you can say, well, this is our culture, and that's our culture, and this is our standard, and that's this. But you don't actually have it until everyone buys into that and points their sails in the same direction. And, you know, we just got such an up close and personal look at it with the Nuggets, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that's culture. And it's built on a few different things. For them, it's built on, you know, Michael Malone's philosophies in the same way that the Buffs will be built on Coach Prime's philosophies. But it's also built on your best player.
Yep.
And so when you have your best player who's completely and utterly selfless, it goes a really long way to making the culture about selflessness. And I think that's what the Nuggets thing is. Like, above all, and you can talk about work ethic and this, that, and the other thing, but like for them, it came down to selflessness. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's funny because I truly loved him a lot when he was a Nugget, but Bones Highland didn't buy into the selflessness culture. And so then you have a sail that's not pointed in the correct direction, and the whole ship goes off path if you do that. So they had to move him out. And as unfortunate as it is, because I like loved him as a player, it wasn't going to work. It wasn't all sails in one direction. So it's even harder in a football team where you're, you know, including walk-ons, you're going to have 3 digits worth of players on a team. You have culture when especially the leaders and all of the best players on the team point their directions that way, and everyone else falls in line behind them.
I think for me, culture is based on community. It's based on a community having a common goal, a common mindset, a common drive. I love what you said about leaders too, because that definitely plays in a role in it. Because if you don't have leaders, if you don't have people to establish and reinforce that culture, then even faster the ship can go off track in all sorts of different directions. So I just thought this was fascinating. This was probably one of my favorite parts of the entire interview. Coach Prime again talked about the new players and kind of coming together. And he said he had a player come up to him and ask how this team is going to gel together. And we've asked this many times throughout the spring. We got many different answers, but it's a little bit different now here too. And he gave this. He said, did you ask your high school coach that? Are you going to ask your NFL coach that? Because players come in, new players every single year on every single team. And there's a sense of having to gel and become a team again every year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's kind of that NFL mindset that I think Neely talked about the last time we had him on, which is just like, yeah, like you in the NFL, you have to microwave the process of building a team, and the ones that do it, you know, succeed.
He moved on, and this is where we got to the fun part, talking about the TCU game, talking about expectations. We already kind of touched on it. But Coach Prime, on the opportunity to play TCU in that big noon slot, said, why wouldn't I want our kids on the largest stage that weekend? They want that, and if they don't want that, we don't want them.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Went on further about expectations, what you said. He said, I don't want to sip. I want it all. He also continued, I feel like we're assembling the type of young men and the staff to get there. I know we can compete against TCU. And this is when I just start to get fired up.
Yes. Yes. And he's right. And the sports books are wrong. Mm-hmm. And we're all going to make money off of it.
Hammer that over. We already talked about quarterback dominating the line of scrimmage. Do you have anything else there just on getting to the playoff?
No, the fact that he said those words was eye-opening.
Setting the standard. Coach Klatt then brought up the team meeting because they were in the team meeting room where we've been and done a show.
Yeah,
which was really cool. They got it more dimmed out and
next time we're in there, cool we need can you hit the Klatt setting?
Right. The famous line, "I'm bringing my luggage." It's just Louis, not rehearsed, just talking about how he tells kids, teaching about life like that, just off the top of his head. And then the part where he goes, I leave that meeting, go into an individual team meeting, they're playing music. He says, if you ever bring music into another one of my meeting rooms, we won't see each other again in life.
That's such a crazy thing to say.
So good.
That was surprising to me. Just because I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like you don't know until you know, right?
Right.
Like if one coach has one standard, another coach has another standard, you're just like, but he laid down the law. I guarantee you they never screwed that up again.
Yep.
And like that's the thing about Coach Prime is he'll always tell you what's up. You're never going to be surprised by his opinion on something. except for maybe the first time you ever hear it.
Right.
Like those guys must have felt that in that moment. But he sets the standard. He lets them know exactly what's up, so you never have any question. The next time you might bring a boombox into a meeting room, right. You know exactly where he stands on the topic.
It was like the moment of the interview, like the most clippable one. He then looks at the camera and says, I got rid of that, and you've got a problem?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He is so right, though.
He is. And again, you know, he used the like building a cabinet, but it's true of all places. And I've said this before, but it's like, if you are going to be responsible for the successes or failures of any sort of organization, why in the world would you keep people around who you don't think can help you succeed?
Yep.
And if you boil it down to that, which I know removes a little bit of the human element of these are college kids, but when you really boil it down and you just close your eyes and you say, if someone gave you, let's just say, a company, and they said, okay, the success or the failure of this company will 100% rest on your back, and you went into that company and you looked around and you said, well, all the employees here suck, would you keep them around?
Yep.
Or would you fire them and find new ones that can get the job that you need to get done? Of course you would. So, yes, is it a little bit more sensitive than maybe I'm making it out there? Yes. But at the same time, if it's on your back in the end and your career is on the line, you can't blame a guy for saying, I got to get people in here that can get the job done, not just, you know, make everyone feel warm and fuzzy.
He then kind of went further about the player bringing the music, and he goes, I just finished telling you guys to hit the portal and that it's up to me, and I want to make those changes, and you put it up on a tee for me. Like,
I think it's like, is it a little surprising to you that the boombox bothered him that much?
A little bit, but I do get it. I mean, it's the first time he's there. Like, I get that he's Coach Prime and things are done a little differently when he's the head coach of your program, but it's the first time meeting him, man. Like, it's literally first impression. Put your best foot forward. Like, show him that you're there to compete and win, not there to have fun. And you're so excited that Coach Prime is my head coach.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I was a little bit surprised. Like, that was like such a sticking point for him. Like, that's the thing that came to his mind when he was talking about that whole experience.
Maybe it's just like one of those certain things that just kind of rubbed him the wrong way, and he kind of took it a bit further.
Totally.
Obviously, I guess. Also then mentioned we did the same thing at Jackson. Of course, no one really mentioned that. And then probably my favorite part of the whole thing, starts talking about the portal and NIL.
Really quick, a good point from Angela, who says, you know, you could have just watched a few well-off videos.
Fair.
And found out where he stands on things. Like, it is true. Like, if you're trying to make a first impression on someone, if you're going in for a job interview, you're not going to, like, Google a few things about the company or the manager or whatever. Like, I would, you know, if you knew who you were getting interviewed by, I'd hit up their LinkedIn page, read a few things about them. They could have watched and found out no hoodies.
Yep.
You know, no cell phones, no earrings, and then come and like made the right first impression with just like a little bit of homework.
I mean, the guys that stuck around, I think, obviously just had that mentality or maybe did a little bit of homework because they knew. But he started talking about the portal and NIL. Klatt asked him what changes would he make to the portal. He said some details he would probably change, but he likes it. Likes it overall at this point. Mentioned his old school coaching style, how that applies. And then talking about when recruiting these guys in the portal, finding out why you entered the portal and asking those uncomfortable questions. Character is what he's trying to learn from these kids that are in the portal who have already left one program and are looking for another chance. NIL says not a problem with me. Collectives are. And you hit this like a week ago.
Yes.
Nailed this quote.
I know. Me and Coach Prime are very much on the same page when it comes to NIL and collectives.
Yep. He said, soliciting kids to come to the university, is he still going to want it like that when you've given it to him and he didn't have to earn it? He also said, I wish there was a way to measure your ability and what you bring to the table before, and then I have no problem whatsoever giving you money. And then again, says, I want you to chase that NFL bag. Then he kind of mentioned, you know, he'd be okay with performance bonuses in college to kind of help you meet those NIL benchmarks, I guess, to earn more money if you are a good player and do it on the field.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just such a touchy topic. And there's so many like little layers to it, but I think he gets it. And I've said it before, they're going to miss out on some players because of his stance on that. And it's fine because I think that will help the culture, right? Because you're trying to get everyone's sales moving in the same direction. And if you got a guy who's making millions of dollars and suddenly some things are more important to him than grinding in football, then you might lose the sale.
Yep. I love how they kind of talked about perspective and the road of being a football player and getting that bag in the NFL. Because, you know, they talked about Lamar and Jalen Hurts, how they have the big bag, and coach is saying, I want you to get there. But they also talked about after that the perspective of getting there. Like, these kids that are just leaving high school now, you are 7, 8, 9, 10 years away from that NFL payday.
Yes.
So getting a bag now, I understand why you'd want to, but you have so much further to go to get such a bigger bag. And it's all right in front of you. And I think that's what Coach Prime is trying to teach these kids.
Yep. And it's why I like the other side of NIL, which is, you know, the spirit of it, because there are some guys who have people at home with nothing. And so the old philosophy of not letting these guys earn anything was awful, in my opinion.
Right.
But, you know, there's a difference between $13 million to sign your name on a dotted line and $10K to do a deal so you can actually send some money back to mom and dad so they can pay rent. Like that, I will never blame a kid for taking that money. And I'll really never blame a kid for saying, I got to take this $13 million because I can take care of my whole family. But in terms of the sport, it's a little dangerous. And I think Coach Prime touched on that. But I want these guys to be able to make money because they do have value and they do have worth, and they should be able to take care of their family or take care of themselves if that's what they want to do with it, you know?
Right. I mean, I think he was in that moment kind of, I mean, he was speaking in general, of course, but I think if he was speaking at a group of people, I think he was speaking to like the top recruits because we've heard a lot of them. I don't want to name names, but we've heard guys say NIL is a big factor for me. And we're not faulting them, but I think it's also kind of keeping the perspective of those guys. Like, hey, you're already a 5-star, 4-star recruit. Like, you have so much further to go. Don't let the bag now distract you from the ultimate goal.
Totally. And you should be a good coaching staff and a good work ethic away from the NFL.
Yes, for sure. They kind of wrapped it up here. Klatt asked him about the next season of Coach Prime, the documentary on Amazon Prime. Coach then said it's going to be bigger, better, following kids from Jackson. There's Shador, there's Travis. He then again brought up the receiving room, like you said. We've got some receivers that are out of this world, but they come from situations that will blow your mind. And then he mentioned Jimmy Horn. Exactly. Sounds like we have a lot about Jimmy to learn still. Then he mentioned Coach Sal.
Yeah, he loves Coach Sal. I'm excited to learn more about Jimmy's story and also watch him ball out.
Absolutely. Then interestingly enough, Klatt kind of told his story at the very end, saying that, you know, he gave up basketball to walk on, and that Coach Prime's Louis comment would have replaced him.
He's wrong. Because I think he was the right type of player for Coach Prime.
Right.
And that's what made him make it as a walk-on. But it was funny.
Well, and Coach, I mean, obviously now has a bunch of walk-ons he's bringing in.
Yeah.
Like, he's not trying to push away those players, the walk-ons, the guys that we talk about that really want it, that are, you know, scratching and clawing for an opportunity. He's pushing away the players that he feels like have the opportunity and haven't taken advantage of it.
Yes.
All right, we got a handful of things to get through. That was fantastic, by the way. I loved it.
Really, really great.
I mean,
makes me even more excited for our interview with Coach Prime someday.
Yep. And to all the haters, all it takes is just throwing on one of these videos and just
learn,
being open for 30 minutes.
Learn about Coach Prime.
Steve Wiltfong put out an article yesterday. He talked to Brandon Davis-Swain about his commitment. Brandon Davis-Swain said, "My heart told me to. It was his third time out to Boulder. Nick Williams was his lead recruiter. Sal Sensiri, I guess, was his secondary. He then continued the coaching staff, the players, just the whole vibe. The D-line coaches, Nick and Sal, have put multiple people in the league. Coach Sal has 4 natties. I'm going to be coached by some of the best in the world, and I want to be the next one they coach that goes to the league.
Hell yeah.
He had a massive offer list, and his top 5 was highly decorated. It was Michigan, USC, Auburn. I can't remember the 5th school. And he just said, it feels like family here. I feel like I can come there, be myself, and not be somebody I'm not. It's welcoming. I had fun there. It was real fun. Everybody on the staff has been to college and the next level to the NFL. And me being in that program, I feel they're going to get me ready and be prepared for the next level.
It's awesome. And I think it highlights a really cool thing, which you can see when you watch Well Off, of just like, doesn't it just look like a fun place to be?
Yes.
Like, I watch those videos and I'm like, man, I wish I was in the room.
Right.
Hanging out with the boys.
I know.
And, even like the cookout that they had for Memorial Day.
Yes.
I always mix up Memorial Day and Labor Day.
Labor Day is associated with football, so you can.
Okay. All right. Well, this is all associated with football. No, I know what you mean. But like even that, it's just like, man, this is such a cool vibe. And I think it's not just Coach Prime, who obviously is the center of it all, but it's just like even just like having Bucky and Darius and Neely around, and like just all the different characters in the universe who play a role in just making that seem like such a fun place to be. And I think guys probably get a little idea of it from watching those videos before they go there, and then they get there and they're like, yeah, this is exactly what I thought it was going to be like.
Yep.
Just like Coach Hart, like just everyone's hanging out, having a good time, making the most of time between when they're grinding.
Just to build on that, I mean, we see a lot of the fun clips on Well Off reach the people in the pregame show. Just imagine what it's like when they're not recording,
Yep.
The moments that we don't see are probably 10 times more lit than what we actually see on video.
100%.
We kind of know a little bit. One more tweet I sent you. Javon Antonio's done it again. I mean, there's nothing else to say. Just, wow.
I've got something to say. You notice a common thread in both of these big catches that he's had, other than the one where he just threw the guy?
I don't know if this is where you're going, but he can get on top of coverage too. He's got wheels.
So he gets on top of the coverage, and then he uses his size.
Yep.
Look at the way that he angles the corner in before then bouncing back out.
Yep.
There's no OPI there. It's merely just using the fact that he is so much bigger than them. If I just bump into you a little bit, I'm going to drive you off that line, and then I have so much length that I can use my space that I've just created to go get the ball away from you.
Right.
Both times he's done it, and that is a very veteran thing, like I'm not comparing him to these guys, but when you watch Brandon Marshall or you watch Calvin Johnson or you watch, Demaryius Thomas or whoever these, these big-bodied receivers who know how to use their size, that's what they do. They put you in a position by just running that way, and they can't get through you going back the other way, and then boom, extend at the end. So it's actually really impressive to watch him use that size, because he moves like a tight end, but it's like he's like a tight end and fast forward.
Exactly. Yeah, he's going to be an absolute weapon, not only in the red zone, but I mean, throw him in at the slot, try and match him up on a small cornerback, see what happens. Let him work that space to the boundary or something.
Yep.
This receiving core, as advertised so far, it may not be advertised enough how good it is.
I'm hyped that they got Antonio, because there's so many different big receivers that they went after. It looks like they got a good one in the end.
They did. Peso says pass interference. It's not PI.
DPI?
I mean, there was no push off.
No.
There was hand fighting.
Wait,
there was
play it again.
There's not a blatant push off there. It's hand fighting. That's no way. No way.
No whistle either way. But is that Cooper? I think it is.
I think so. That's a big cornerback.
He's got his hand. He had to go up with one hand because he had his other hand. So it might have been DPI, if anything. But I think that's just a good rep. Good hand fighting. Good,
I mean, it's a solid rep on both sides. It's an incredible one-handed catch that you just can.
Right, you just tip your cap.
Exactly.
Great job. Fun to watch. And here's the thing, he knows how to use that size, and damn it, Shedeur Sanders knows how to use that size too.
Yep.
And he knows how to put the ball in a place where only he can get it, and that is a dangerous combo for opposing defenses.
Can't wait, man. Shout out to Backus and Shanker. They've been helping Colorado families win for more than 25 years. No fees to speak with them about your case. No fees while they work on your case, and no fees unless they win your case and win money for you. They've won over $1 billion for their clients. They have neighborhood offices in Denver, Aurora, Englewood, Fort Collins. Backus and Shanker wins. Smash that Shedeur line. If you need to sue, smash the 2222222. Backus and Shanker helps with all kinds of injury cases where you weren't at fault. Car accidents, motorcycle, rideshare, pedestrians, and trucks. They can even help if you're injured at work.
I'm just so happy that people get this passionate over a practice rep.
I know, it's great. Smash the like button too, guys. If you've been enjoying the show, I know it's the off season, but I feel like we've had some bangers recently.
Yes, this one especially.
Yeah, for sure. Smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the podcast if you aren't already. It costs you nothing, and it helps us out greatly. Go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Just hit that subscribe button. While you're there, we would appreciate your 5-star review as well. Shout out to Shady Rays. Another beautiful day here in Denver. We're going to have a parade tomorrow, and you know I'm going to be rocking my Shady Rays out there.
Oh, yeah.
Shady Rays. I saw it was going to be clear for the morning, though. I think we should be okay.
If the parade's a long thing, if we get a little bit of weather, we'll be all right.
We will be.
Probably need to cool down.
True. Durable frames, extremely clear polarized optics. Even if you lose or break your pair at the parade, Shady Rays has you covered with their lost and broken replacement program. You can shop their entire collection at the Park Meadows Mall or go to shadyrays.com. Make sure you use the code DNVR while you're there. You'll get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses, and you can try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
Man, that parade is going to hit different.
I'm so hyped. Can't wait.
That's going to be.
Yeah, so we're not going to have a show tomorrow.
Yeah, no show tomorrow.
We are going to be twerking.
We're going to twerk so hard. We'll be at the parade. Probably have my first drink before the sun comes up. And just hopefully make it to when the sun goes down.
Yeah. That's true.
Oh, man, that's going to be a fun day.
Mac Mill says it's an ugly day in Atlanta. We got people checking in from Louisville.
It was actually beautiful. That's still nice out.
It's
It was
a great day
beautiful when
today.
I woke up this morning.
Yeah. All right.
Only problem is my patio furniture is still soaked.
Oh, it poured for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I couldn't go have my morning coffee on the patio.
Yeah. Little Rock. All right. Angela, she's back. Jake and RK. Coach Prime says NIL is fine. Issues, how do you fix collectives? Collectives are designed to buy kids. And the kids' first question is how much, not how to fit on D or O. Sad. Yeah. We talked a lot about this, but it's, I don't know. There's a lot of different situations that these recruits come from. So it's hard to kind of group them in and say, like, no kids should get any money, but it's changed the sport.
To me, the way that you do it is you just get rid of collectives.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do collectives. There's a great idea by the people who started doing them because it was a loophole in the system. Close the loophole.
Yeah. That's one solution.
It has to be a direct deal with a business, in my opinion.
I don't know what this is asking. Did they win by default?
One win that Colorado had last year.
Oh, it was not by default.
No,
They scratched and clawed for
Yeah,
that one.
it was honestly because they had a new coach and they got a little extra juice.
Yep. Shout out Mike Sanford.
Yep.
Angela again, Jake and RK. Dylan debate. What are your top 5 positions? QB1, CB2, 3, 4, 5. We talked about it a bit.
Yeah, we did that yesterday.
What we had.
Top three, that would be nice to have too.
So we did quarterback, corner, and tackle.
Yeah.
We mentioned tight end and middle linebacker as well,
And you mentioned edge.
and edge.
I would throw edge out, personally,
Okay.
just because it's pretty straightforward, in my opinion. Now, being good at it is difficult,
Yeah.
but it's a very see ball, get ball position.
Right. That's true. The Bronco kid. Do y'all think we'll see Dylan race? The guys saying that they're faster. I got Dylan.
So who all is involved in this?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm a bit behind on YouTube, so I don't know exactly. I'd imagine Jimmy's in the conversation. Willie's probably in the conversation.
Tarvaris Dawson.
Dawson's in the conversation. Travis is probably gonna want to throw his name in the conversation.
Yeah. I think Jimmy might be faster than Dylan.
At this point.
Yes.
At this point.
Yes. I don't know about the new guys yet, though.
How long have you been a CU fan, Ryan?
I mean, honestly, since birth, so 31 years. But my first CU game memory, I believe I was about 5.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I just started to beat a year ago, but I've always kind of had a soft spot for Colorado sports in general.
Yep.
And the Buffs. Just, I mean, they weren't great, but when they were
you're a Broncos fan and all the other
right,
teams.
yeah. But I always followed them. I always liked watching. They had a bunch of corners a few years ago when I was getting into the draft process. So I liked watching Isaiah Oliver, all those guys.
Kella Witherspoon.
Yep. I mean, Philip Lindsay, of course, that connection kind of helped out. It was pretty seamless. Vel says no show tomorrow. No show tomorrow, in case you haven't heard.
I just wanted to make double sure.
As I told some people in a meeting this week, there's no point in getting together a bunch of people who are passionate about Colorado sports, working your asses off to build a company if you can't take the day off for a championship parade. So
That's
for
true.
that reason, no shows for anyone tomorrow.
Let's go. Can't wait. D. Lee, what's been your most memorable road trip, city or stadium, following the Buffs over the years?
Ooh. I mean, I'm not going to give any credit to their stadium or city, but the most memorable road trip is definitely the last Nebraska game.
Yeah.
Winning on a late, long fourth quarter touchdown, being there with about, I don't know, somewhere between 2,000 and 5,000 CU fans in the stadium, and everyone just essentially taking over downtown Lincoln afterwards was special. In terms of places, best places I've been, I don't know. Yeah, I do like Tempe. I like that area. It's a fun place to go hang out for a game. It's also very hot. Trying to see if I'm missing one. This is a basketball one. But going to Lawrence, and going to Allen Fieldhouse in terms of stadium, hands down. That is one of the few places I've ever been where I was like, this place means nothing to me, but I can feel the magic in here.
Right.
You can feel the ghosts and all the special things that have happened there. So that's a really cool one.
Only trip I've been on so far covering the Buffs is the Colorado Springs for Air Force last year.
That was pure misery.
That was something, I tell you
Pure
what.
misery.
What else do we got? Yeah. Oh, my bad. Diallo says, me and my boys are going to the TCU game, but staying in different hotel than y'all. Is there still a way we can participate in the DNVR tailgate?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Same link, right?
Same link right there at the bottom. There's tailgate only. There's also, I don't think it's on there now, but we are also going to have another event on Friday night. We just need to figure out the logistics of it. So I said the same thing when we went to London. I was like, hey, look, I know that it's not going to work out for everyone to come on the trip. I still want to see everyone, meet everyone, party with everyone. So we'll make sure that there's an event, multiple events, including the tailgate, that anyone and everyone, no matter where you're coming from, can be a part of.
Hell yeah. James, I think this is the guy who made the Buffs theme song. Country Tone, that buffalo sauce. Have you heard it yet? I don't
know if that's who made it there, but we have heard it.
Yeah.
And as I tweeted out, I'll be honest. A lot of times a song about a team turns out to be corny. So I went through it a few times before I made a ruling. That's a banger.
It is.
It slaps. I would listen to that. I would just put that on in the car.
When they're getting lit in the studio after just recording the song, that's when it kind of has a little something else that other songs don't.
that hits. I like it a lot.
Tay Fox, does Colorado even have a collective structure? They do. The Buffs for Life NIL collective. It just started in October, I think.
Yeah.
Very early stages, but they have one.
Yeah.
You can donate today. Bronco Kid, what do y'all think about the new NCAA football game only paying players $500 for their NIL? We haven't talked about it this week. But
Is there any new developments?
no, but there were a lot of people kind of coming out in support saying just take the 500 just to be in the game. And like, I don't know, there's only 4 or 5 guys who can have the actual pull to say, I actually want more. And that's Caleb, Travis, Shador, and I mean,
It's a small list.
yeah,
It's
he's incoming freshman though.
it's hard for me to sit here from my position and be like, just take the money because I'm clearly biased. I want the game to come out.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
At the same time, you're not being asked to do anything.
Literally.
You just have to sign and say, you can put me in a video game and I'll take my money.
Yeah.
So it's not, I wouldn't say it's a bad deal. There's also so many players that, you could sink the game if the number gets too high. It's a complicated issue. I have a hard time blaming anyone for saying like, I'm worth more than that. But for me, I'm just like, come on,
I know.
let's just get this game out.
Hopefully. Maya is asking, are players really getting $13 million? That was the reported price.
Florida offered to Jaden Rashada.
Jaden Rashada is his name, yes.
Yep. Not even offered. Like, he accepted and then showed up on campus, and they're like, well, you see, the way it works is I have a checking account and a savings. We just have to move a little bit over.
Yeah.
Give me a few minutes here.
He's at Arizona State now, though.
Yep.
We'll see if he's starting. Rex is asking lots of attention to defense and offense, but what is the status of kicking positions? Spring game was a disaster. Did we see Vissette punt? I'm sure we did. I just don't remember it, I guess, because it probably wasn't an actual punt play.
I think they were fine on punting.
Well, they can only go up.
Yes, that's for sure.
Kicking
was a disaster, though.
But it wasn't necessarily on Mata. It was
No.
busts in the line.
Yeah, but it's something they definitely got to get
For sure.
get figured out.
Yeah.
But that's the benefit of practice.
Right. Still taking Mata over Feely?
I think they're both going to kick.
Interesting.
Mata short, Feely
Love it.
long.
Love that. Tay's also asking Javon Antonio or MLC.
Got to see more, but Javon Antonio is certainly more physically gifted.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, probably him.
Yeah. James is asking, when is Bucky coming to the DNVR show? That would be epic.
One day. It'll
Soon.
happen.
Yep. That'd be amazing. Eric's asking, would Coach Prime be Colorado's head coach if Rick George wasn't the AD? I do not think so.
Probably not. Probably not. Rick George had the foresight, the cojones, the belief, and the desire to do something special.
Yep.
And so he went after Coach Prime, and I think, honestly, did an incredible job of satisfying the need to be needed for Coach Prime in the recruitment process.
For sure. Obviously, they have a very special relationship, and I don't even know if there's 5 other people on the planet who, at AD, probably could have pulled Coach Prime the way Rick George did.
Agreed.
I don't have...
Oh, yeah. Everyone wants an update on Cormani.
I don't know, guys. I don't know about Cormani.
The answer is no update. Eric, should Colorado be scared of Coach Prime leaving if this works out and Colorado has success? A school will do whatever is needed to secure service. Scared isn't the word I would use. I would say Colorado should be prepared for Coach Prime leaving.
Right.
At some point. I don't know if it's going to happen this year. That wouldn't.
That'd be extreme.
It would be surprising, I think, if it happened this year. But yes, every school in the country that has an opening is going to call if this works out the way that we think it's going to.
I mean, hiring Coach Prime was more than just this hire. It was about rebuilding an entire program.
Yes.
And getting it set up not for this year and next year, but for the future, for 10, 15 years down the line.
Yep.
Getting Colorado football back to being a brand that means something.
Exactly.
That's what this was about.
That's already happened.
Yes. Original. We got a few super chats. Thank you for the super chat, Original. CU, who was 1-11, being chosen over Michigan, USC, Bama, Georgia. No other coach can make that happen. P.S. Ali said you have to get the tattoo, RK. The primetime tattoo from yesterday he brought up.
No,
She said it. Now you have to. That's how that works.
that's definitely not how it works.
Say it. You have to do it.
It's not how that works. I might get a tattoo though soon. My first.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I don't have one either. Warren asking, or with the super chat, appreciate you, man. He said, I saw another YouTube channel list CU's top 5 rivalries. Number 5, KSU.
Nope.
4, Mizzou.
Nope.
3, Utah.
No.
2,
I guess 3 Utah. Sure.
2 of the Corn.
That's what that says.
Yeah, Corn People is what it says.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then CSU at 1. Do you
Okay.
agree of his list and order?
Not even close. Not even a little bit. Nebraska's number 1.
Yes.
And even in the 10-year break when we didn't even play them, still hated them more than CSU.
Yep.
But now that it's been revived, the hate is as fresh as ever before. CSU is 2. There's just nothing else that really competes with them to even have a conversation about it. And Utah is 3
That's just a
in
geographic
name
thing.
only. Yeah. There is not really a 4 or 5, but I can tell you no one cares about those 2. You could maybe make an argument for ASU. That's been more of a basketball thing, but there's the football, and then same thing with U of A.
Right.
Arizona has, and Colorado have had a little thing going there in basketball. Arizona's obviously a better basketball program, but we've had a couple big wins against them, some really big games against them, and then I don't think there's any old Big 12 rivalries other than Nebraska that anyone thinks about anymore.
Right. Yeah. I mean, OU and Texas are gone. I guess K-State would be the next team, I guess. I mean, I don't even know.
No.
Well,
USC it's not a rivalry. You got to win to make it a rivalry.
Yeah.
But also, USC's where are their fans? Do you ever see their fans?
on Twitter, I do.
Ever since you tweeted about their facility?
Just there's this one. I don't know.
I don't really see their
I
fans.
see a
on
lot
Twitter.
of them on Twitter. They follow Coach Prime a lot. I'll say that.
Okay, well, that doesn't surprise me.
And I don't think they're from California.
Yeah, there's not a true 4 or 5, and really there's not even really a true 3. Utah gets it because the Pac-12 tried to make that happen, but
Could Arizona actually be that though if they come with Colorado hypothetically to the Big 12?
sure. I like hating Arizona. Thing about me is I don't back the Pac. I dislike all the teams.
Right. Yeah. Someone says, "What about Notre Dame? When's the last time CU even played them?"
So long ago, but if they would have found a way to keep that alive, I think it would have been real. They have not played in my lifetime in terms of being a real fan. So they obviously played when I was 2, 3, 4 years old. But what I say, 5 is when I really started going to the games, and in 2001 is when I became a diehard. So not in that time.
It's fun to hate Notre Dame.
Oh yeah.
And Colorado has the better gold helmets. They should be known as the Golden Domers.
I don't like that nickname.
I think it's dope.
I don't like it.
Why
Something
not?
about domers doesn't sound right to me.
You know what that word reminds me of? Playing Halo 3 back in the day. Oh, I got that guy in the dome.
Reminds me of something else.
Where's Uncat?
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't even born yet.
I would love to make that just revive the series.
That'd be fun. Anything else?
Nope. I'm gonna go grab a sandwich before my next meeting.
Let's do it. This was a lot of fun. I loved this pod.
This was great.
Yep.
This is great.
Hit that like button on the way out. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Go Buffs.
Let's go Buffs.